I spent the last 6 months of my life interviewing someone from every country. Yeah, even North Korea, and you won't believe what they had to say. Oh, and someone's getting a trophy by the end of this video. And by someone, I mean someones. How about that intro, folks? Some of the people I met along the way actually helped me make this video. That intro comes courtesy of a wonderful Salvadorian named Rudy. I will link his YouTube channel in the description. Okay, shall we begin? Oh my God, could you imagine 6 months of work just to rickroll people? Before we actually start, I need everyone to understand something. The overwhelming majority of the people I spoke with were non-native English speakers. That means we must give them the benefit of the doubt if you don't like something they said. I may have misunderstood them, or they may have misspoke. Either way, these nice people took time out of their day to chat with me, answer all my questions, and trust that I wouldn't misrepresent what they told me. And I have no intention of making anyone look bad. I also won't be making fun of any of these people or their countries. What do you think I am, French? I asked everyone what their opinions of Trump and Obama were. Here's what they thought of Trump, and here's what they thought of Obama. Okay, what the HE double hockey sticks is going on here? I have been told nonstop that the world hates Trump and loves Obama. I feel lied to. Well, one explanation is just like there are red states and blue states, there are red countries and blue countries. But what's with all these countries that either like both or dislike both? I think I know what's going on here. For an American, domestic policy is really important. And when you look at domestic policy, there is a huge difference between Democrats and Republicans. Darn tootin' there is! But what about foreign policy? You think some poor kid in Libya cares that the US president is racist or bans Muslims? No, it doesn't affect them. You know what does affect them? Drone strikes that kill their non-terrorist family members. See, when you live outside the US, you have to worry if we're going to bomb you or drag you into one of our wars. And if you live in Pakistan, you're probably happy with Trump because we're droning your country less. Trump actually dropped more bombs than Obama did. Our government just stopped reporting drone strikes and civilian casualties. Whoops! Did I just get confusingly political? My bad. See, most foreigners experience the same thing whether the president has a D or an R in front of his name. From their viewpoint, there is no difference. That's why so many of these countries either like both or dislike both. They get treated the same no matter what. I asked several of the people I interviewed if that accurately described their viewpoint, and they all said yes. That got a little serious and I stumbled into something I can't unlearn. So let's lighten the mood. Oh, who's a good boy? You a good boy? I think all you want pets too. You're a good. Oh yeah. What is your opinion of America as a country and of Americans as a people? For anyone who doesn't know, it's popular for Americans to say the world hates us. I've been to several countries and none of them showed any hatred towards me or my country. But people here will still push this nonsense anyways. Most people I spoke with had a complex view of my country and my people. There were only a couple of people who were openly hostile towards me for being American. France. It was a pleasant surprise because I was honestly expecting way more people to be openly anti-American. Almost everyone I spoke with was able to separate their hate or disdain for the US government from the people living here. I believe there were only 3 people who said they hated Americans. They weren't the only ones to have negative things to say about Americans. They were just the only ones that said they hated us. A lot of the people disapproved of my government's foreign policy. YOLO! Something interesting came up with a lot of Central and South Americans. They really don't like that we call ourselves Americans. When you put men on the moon, you make the rules. Costa Rica was the only one who was a complete dick about it. I told Honduras that the reason we call ourselves Americans is because it's shorthand for United States of America. It was never explained to him that way, but it made sense once he heard it. If the guy from Honduras is watching this, you were one of the nicest people I met along the way, and I hope good things happen to you. I did get one weird answer that confused me. America is definitely not the greatest country, but it's certainly greater than any other country. Overall, the guy from Indonesia, one of my favorite people to interview for this entire project. Shout out to him. You're probably wondering what these colors mean. The different colors represent the impression you left on me. See, I went into this project with just a vague idea. Interview someone from every country, and then compare their answers for a YouTube video. Only after I had finished collecting all the data and writing the script did I realize how I should have phrased each question. So this may not accurately reflect what you told me. Whoops, I'm sure you used the comment section to correct me. That's why this one has a degree of confidence 0%, and why I'm quickly moving on to the next question. How do you think your opinions compare to the average person from your country? There was no interesting pattern here. But a lot of you said you felt like an outsider, or that a lot of people wouldn't share your opinion. Just know that no matter what your views are, there are millions of people who share those views. And for better or for worse, they're just a few clicks away thanks to the internet. If you were able to change one thing about America, what would you change? There was no simple map I can make with this one. People's opinions were just too diverse. So here's what we're gonna do. Y'all ready for a speed round? The approval of Satanist religion in the US. Freedom of speech, they need less of it. I would change America's policy of neglect for Africans fighting for independence. Gay and transgender marriages, because it's unnatural. Make immigration easier so I can move there. Change government, become Islamic. Unite more, I love American values. Bring back Obama, he was a good president. Switch to the metric system. Getting rid of mindless consumerism. Americans' sense of entitlement. Make them work less. Change the mentality of the citizens who want to destroy their own country. Remove civil forfeiture. Age limit for Congress. Abolish the electoral college. Use direct voting system. Less strict gun laws. Make education system more accessible. The existence of America. I believe it should cease to exist. Remove communism. Bring back McCarthyism. Reduce population size humanely. Balkanize it. Let the union break up. Get rid of the damn social stain that is evangelical puritanism. End political polarization. Better education system. Immigration. Make it easier to move there. Healthcare. Medicare for all. Voting system. Switch to ranked voting. Change your religion to Islam. Less support for Israel. End welfare or make people work harder. Reduce trade with countries if they don't have free elections. More strict gun laws. I would give greater autonomy to the state. Media and their fear-mongering. Change political system to communism to fight climate change. Did you make it? Did you enjoy that?
That's what she said.
Before we move on to the next question, guess who said this?
The existence of America. I believe it should cease to exist. It is because I'm not very fond of the US.
Latvia. Speaking of Latvia, so I used to be in the army and my first duty station was Germany. And when I was on base at the PX, I ran into a guy who was clearly not from America wearing a military uniform. And I didn't recognize it. And so I asked him, I looked at the flag on his shoulder, what part of Germany are you from? And he just kind of looked at me like I was stupid. And he told me he was from Latvia, which is a country at that point I had never heard of. And I felt pretty stupid at that point. And I understand why Americans are stereotyped as not knowing geography. Because we don't. Okay, on to the next. What is something your country does better than mine? Speedrun 2, Electric Boogaloo, Hospitality, Foreign Relations, Gun Control, Coffee, Humor, Our women are more beautiful, Americans are too fat, We're better at cricket, Social support systems, Public transportation, Propaganda, we use it to defeat COVID, Healthcare, 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 Social life, Family values, Education, Healthcare, Public transportation, Research and development, Less crime, Education and Healthcare, Foreign policy, We're not tolerant towards leftist ideas, Food, Gun laws, Less racism, Societal unity, Staying level-headed, Tourism, Tolerance, Hospitality, Healthcare and free college, Food, Less racism, Can't compare countries, Culture and friendliness, Land owned by people, not corporations, More peaceful, Better foreign policy. That was fun. I noticed a couple patterns. Did you? Several of the people said nothing. That's not what I wanted to hear. This question wasn't meant to dunk on any nation. I genuinely wanted to know how other countries thought they were better than us. While I am patriotic,
Does it show?
I don't think my country is perfect. There are things that other countries do better than us, and we should be willing to change when a better way presents itself. If you had to move to another country, which one would you choose and why? I'm just a little butthurt that the Republic of Congo said Canada because it's the land of the freedom.
I mean, hello. I'm sitting right here.
But overall, North America was the most popular choice, with Europe coming in a close second and Asia in a distant third. In total, 54 different countries were named. And that would take too long to go over each one of them, and this video is already gonna be like 13 hours long. So we're just gonna do a top 5. Pretty sure a bunch of people are gonna find this next part hard to believe, being that I made this. With 50 people choosing the true land of the freedom, woo! America was the most popular choice, by far.
USA! USA! USA!
At least a dozen people said America was their dream country. And I hope every one of them makes it here someday. Scandinavia came up a lot. Norway was named most often of the Scandinavian countries, but usually the people would say something like any of the Nordic countries, somewhere in Scandinavia, or just name several of the countries from that region. So I grouped them all together. While Norway was the most popular choice, Denmark was the least popular choice. Denmark by itself never came up. When it was mentioned in combinations with other Nordic countries. Well, I mean, one person did say Faroe Islands, so I guess that counts as Denmark? Maybe, kind of. I don't know.
I don't understand how Europe works.
Remember earlier when I say geography wasn't American strong suit? 17 people said they wouldn't move anywhere. Mostly Africans said this. I have some really nice words to say about Africans coming up in a couple questions. Rounding out the top 5 are Canada with 14.
Suck it, Canada.
And Japan with 9. If you had to guess who got more votes, Australia or Israel? They tied with 2 votes each. What do you mean things look different? I definitely filmed this all in one day. I asked whose side they were on, Israel or Palestine. No, I didn't. Just kidding. I'm not ready for that. Instead, I asked, what are your freedoms like? Okay, so I may have made a few stupid decisions along the way. For some reason, this question confused a lot of people. I think it's because most countries don't offer their citizens freedoms in the first place, and I think that's why the US is the most immigrated to country. I mean, why do you think the US gets more immigrants than any other country?
We've been the most moved to country for over 7 decades now. Yeah!
I learned nothing of value with this question. So, that was a stupid question. About halfway through the project, I started asking people if they liked their country's laws. And that too, for some reason, confused people. So this was a bust. Next question. Who won World War II? Well, that's interesting. I feel like this is something we should all agree on. I did find it weird that so many countries said they didn't know. They didn't learn in school or anywhere who won World War II. I mean, look at all these countries who didn't know. Gee whiz! Part of the war was even fought in North Africa. In their defense, the war is mostly Eurocentric. So I understand why so many countries would never learn about World War II. Let's take a look further down into Africa. Does anyone else notice a pattern? If colonized by England, they knew. If colonized by France, they didn't know. Interesting. I mean, okay, one former French colony knew, but still. 109 countries in total said something that I categorized as just allies. The majority of them, 71, said allies.
Rude.
17 said Soviets, while only 13 said America.
I'm offended.
3 did say America and Soviets, while 1 said America and the Republic of China. For some reason. Well said the country that benefited most was France. Okay. None of the countries in Oceania said America. And that made me a little sad.
I'm not butthurt, you're butthurt.
I mean, it wasn't Europe or Russia freeing y'all from the Japanese, was it? Here's what I noticed. America and the countries heavily influenced by us will say America, while former USSR countries and their neighbors will say the Soviets, while pretty much everyone else in Europe will just say allies. Except Northern Ireland, he specifically said America and Russia, which makes me think he left out England on purpose because of their country's history. If that's why, I respect that so hard. To all those who said America, please know that I like you 6% better than those who said allies and 9% better than those who said Soviets. I grew up during the Cold War, so I have this ingrained hatred of Russia. Some call this patriotism while others call it brainwashing. Is there any country or group of people you hate for a similar reason? This was surprising, but 99 countries said no. They didn't hate. That's like the 5th time the batteries died while I was filming this. God dang it. Okay, where was I? Yeah, I'm a professional. Duh. This was surprising, but 99 of the countries said no. They had no hate in their heart. Aww. That's half. I was only able to use 198 countries total for this project. Half the people had no hate in their heart. The majority of the people who did say they hated a country, they made the distinction between hating their government and hating their people. Most people will hate a government without hating the people of that country. I do regret phrasing the question the way I did. I used to think all Russians were commies, and boy do I hate commies. My views of Russia and Russians were super outdated. Russia was the country that surprised me the most, so just this once.
Nostrovia!
In total, I spoke with 4 Russians, and they all had similar answers. I didn't directly ask this question to any of them. I danced around it as much as I could. This question comes towards the end of the interview. And by the time I got to this question with the first Russian I spoke with, I realized how wrong my views were of them, and I didn't feel comfortable telling them that I hated Russia or Russians, even in the past tense. I honestly could not believe how much I enjoyed talking to these Russians. It was a glass-shattering experience, to say the least. Here's a reenactment.
Know what I like? The same things I like? Duh. Did we just become best friends? Nostrovia!
Hey, so, do you think the people watching this right now know you filmed all this in your underwear?
Very unlikely.
When a country was named, Israel, France, and China were popular answers. I actually bonded with many of the people I spoke to by making fun of France. France has pissed off a lot of countries. Like a lot. The guy who made the intro for this video, Rudy, he asked me why I hated France. I told him I don't know. Because I don't know. It's just part of our pop culture to make fun of France. In 2003, I ate Freedom Toast for breakfast, I had Freedom Fries for lunch, and for dessert with dinner, I had Freedom Vanilla Ice Cream while I fantasized about freedom kissing freedom maids. We stopped using the word France or French because they wouldn't invade Iraq with us. True story. We're super petty sometimes. I don't actually hate France, but don't you dare tell anyone I said that. America wasn't a popular choice, which did kind of surprise me. Like I said earlier, it's popular here for Americans to say the world hates us. Turns out, the world is in love with us. I know it's going to be hard for some people to believe that an American made this project and got these results. As I mentioned earlier, only 3 people said they hated America and Americans. And I just remembered one of them was France.
Ew. I just complimented France like 2 seconds ago and I already regret it.
Fun fact about Africans, they by far more than anyone push back on this question. They did not like me asking if they hated anyone. Most people who said no didn't make a big deal about it, but a lot of the Africans told me it was wrong to hate people. I don't feel like going over all the countries that were named. Doesn't seem useful to my end goal anymore. Apologies if you're looking forward to me going into further detail about who hated which countries and why. What is humanity's biggest threat? Would you look at that? Everyone agrees in one way or another that we are our own worst enemy. Well, except for the 2 people who said coronavirus. This is normally where I'd make a joke about the coronavirus being man-made in a Wuhan lab, but due to YouTube's terms of service, the coronavirus is like a drunk uncle who touches your no-no area. It's something I'm not supposed to joke about. If COVID wasn't happening right now, they probably would have chose something else anyways, so I'm counting it. Oh, and one guy did say some random world-ending event, but I'm just counting that as man failing to find a way to prevent it. So yeah, we all agree. We are our own worst enemy. Good job, Earth. We finally did it. We all agree on something. Well, that and green means go. No matter what country you go to, green is always go, red is always stop. 51 specifically said humanity itself or humans. 26 said some kind of war. 19 said climate change. 13 said ignorance. 9 said greed. 8 said something about technology. And 72 gave unique answers that I can't categorize easily. No one said aliens for some reason, and I'm just a little disappointed.
Did everyone forget Area 51 exists? We did a raid like last year.
Quick question. Which do you think came up more? The Jews or racism? It's a trap once again. They tied 3-3. Suckers. How do you think your nationality affects your worldview? Earlier when I said I made a few stupid decisions along the way, this is another one of those stupid decisions.
I'm sure when you see someone wearing this, you expect them not to make any mistakes.
I knew I wanted to know how a person's nationality affected their worldview, but I didn't phrase this question in a good way to get an easily digestible answer to present to you. So for this one, this is my best guess how each person views their nationality. 63 said it was positive, 48 said it was negative, 45 says it doesn't affect them at all, 15 gave unclear answers, and 27 gave no answer at all. What some of these people share with me made me genuinely sad. My nationality affects my worldview in a lot of ways. I'm not given a voice to speak. No one gives me a listening ear. No one believes I have anything to offer mankind, and I'm always not given opportunities to develop myself. Even on this website, people look at my nationality and say ulterior things. I found out the people of other countries, if they don't like your country, they don't like you also. My nationality prevents me from dreaming big. I feel unfortunate I was born in this nation. It affected my worldview in such a way that it's the lowest a people can get. So yeah, for the most part, I don't want anything to do with the ideas, tradition, or core/moral values of my nation state. It affects the world's view of me. From a small island, we are mostly voiceless and go unconsidered and are deemed insignificant until our vote is required at some UN meeting to make up numbers. Negative, because I am from a shithole nation, as Trump would say. Because I'm used to living in poverty. A lot of other countries look down on Marshallese people. It makes me think that people of more powerful countries will never care for us and will just let us be. Okay guys, bring it in. You need a hug? Here's a hug. I care about you as a human, and I'm sure the majority of people watching this right now also feel that way. I'm sorry your nationality makes you feel that way. Do you guys need another palate cleanser? Because I sure do.
Oh, who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? Oh, you a good boy. Where'd you come from?
What is your opinion of the UN? I got real excited because the first 30 countries or so, everyone hated the UN. And I thought that was going to be the thing that all humans agreed on.
Abolish the UN.
Early on in this project, the question was, what is your opinion of the UN, the EU, and NATO? But once I got out of Europe, I quickly realized that people in South America don't really care about NATO or the EU. I mean, why would they? Side note, I actually have an award from NATO.
NATO is a BS organization and it should be abolished.
All the money the US is spending on NATO should instead be spent on our southern neighbors, so we can build a future where open borders for this continent is a safe reality that no one complains about. But instead, we're spending billions of dollars protecting the richest countries on Earth from an enemy that's a former shell of itself that doesn't have the manpower or the money to even invade Europe or take over a single European country. We do all this because reason. And to be clear, I don't think we should be spending that money on our military to put our military in Central and South America. What we could be doing instead is spending the money to build jobs for those countries. Because you know what someone who has a middle-class lifestyle doesn't want to do? They don't want to illegally immigrate to America. You know what else they don't want to do? They don't want to go work for their cartel. They want exactly what we want and what the majority of Americans have. Oops, did I go off on another tangent? My bad. One guy said the UN was China influenced, so shout out to him. While another said they were literally the Illuminati. Shout out to him too. I have to know, were they flirting with me? Because it's working. A lot of the people brought up that they viewed the UN as the puppet of the US. It's our dog on a leash. Maybe this is a blind spot for me because I am American, but I don't feel like NATO is our lapdog. What is your opinion of China? Guys, I messed up big time. When I asked people their opinions of America and Americans, I worded it in a way to get a complex answer that I think accurately represents how they feel and what they think. I did not do this for China. Uh-oh, spaghetti-o. I would love to take this opportunity to dunk on China.
Look at me.
But because I failed to properly word this question, I failed to get an answer worth sharing with you. For reals, I'm sorry. My battery didn't die again, what are you talking about? Which do you prefer, capitalism or socialism? And why? I was quite surprised to see how much of Europe said capitalism. That's probably because I have an incorrect view of them as dirty socialists. They clearly aren't.
They aren't?
I should probably update my views on European.
No, definitely not doing that. Way too much work.
Capitalism overall was the most popular choice,
Shout out to capitalism.
with a mix of both being in a distant second. Socialism barely made it into third place. I was honestly hoping for it to be in last place. I did get some weird answers. Bulgaria wanted capitalism with a dash of communism, whatever that means. Italy wanted socialism of the national variety. Syria wanted something referred to as Arab socialism. If I had more time, I would have looked into what that was. One of the Nigerians I spoke with said every nation should start with socialism and work their way up to capitalism over time. I put 4 people's answers into the other category because I didn't know how to categorize them. Good government is all I need. Rather have, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that word, democracy if possible. Whatever serves the country. Conclusion. I knew way less about a world than I thought I did, and people are way different than I assumed they were. I've been to 12 countries, so I had this false understanding of our world. The Dunning-Kruger effect is a bitch. Going into this, I was convinced my views wouldn't change. I was wrong. Now let's give out those trophies. Rudy, I dub you the world's smartest man. Of all the people I spoke with, you came off as the most intelligent. I spoke with a lot of intelligent people while doing this project. Shout out to Morocco, the Bahamas, and Slovenia. Speaking of Slovenia, Kai, you helped me find so many people to interview. Something like 20 people, give or take. I would make a post on Facebook saying I'm looking for people from these countries, and then he'd always tag like a dozen people from those countries. You were a huge help, and you're extremely smart. So I dub you #1 friend finder. And Roger, you're officially the world's greatest Canadian. Like Kai, he helped me find a whole bunch of people to interview. And you're one of my favorite people from this whole entire project that I met. Just DM me your addresses. Roger, I already have yours. And I'll ship these out ASAP. This is the Florida state flag. It's the greatest state in the union. It's the one thing that all Americans agree on, especially the Texans. They were all supposed to have the eagle, but for some reason this came with a 19. Call it a quirk. Good enough. If you've somehow made it this far in the video, donation links will be in the description. A good friend of mine's wife is battling cancer right now. Ha ha, American healthcare, I know. Any money you send to me through PayPal or Venmo, I will forward to him so hopefully he can spend more days off work and in the hospital with his wife. You might be wondering how my personal views have changed after speaking to someone from every single country. I no longer feel comfortable referring to countries as, okay, I have to whisper this next part, shitholes. Don't tell Susan I said that. So I don't think I'm referring to countries as shitholes anymore, except Venezuela, because I spoke to 5 Venezuelans during this project, and they all, unprompted, told me Venezuela was a complete shithole. Speaking of Venezuela, shout out to Mo, another one of my favorite people I met while doing this project. But yeah, Good people live in every country, and I should show these good people respect by not pointlessly insulting the country they did not choose to be born in. Before I started this project, if you would have asked my opinion of Muslims, Russians, or the French...
Did he say French again? Ew.
Well, my former thoughts don't mesh with the terms of service of this website, so I can't tell you what I actually felt about them. I've been to both Iraq and Afghanistan, which for many years tainted my views of all Muslims and Islamic nations. It wasn't until I started this project that I found myself having deep conversations with everyday Muslims, like Ahmad from Egypt, or my favorite Paki, Stani, Razi. Side note, I just told a really funny joke right there that most people aren't going to catch, but Razi sure will. One of the Iranians I spoke with told me that if an Iranian speaks English, uses Facebook, and chooses to associate with Americans on social media, they probably have a pro-West bias. I've been shitting on people who like and support us, people who want the same things I want. So to all Muslims, I am sorry for the way I viewed you in the past. I no longer feel that way. Apologies also to Russia and the Russian people. My views about you and your country have also changed drastically. Shout out to Jack. He's like my Cold War buddy. We're the same age, both served in the military, lived very similar lives. He's just originally from Russia. We're both fascinated with the Cold War and want our homelands to become better allies and build a better friendship. I can't believe how much in common I have with the Russians I met. I honestly regret the way I felt about them. So yep, those are the only people I owe an apology to. I can't think of anyone else I should apologize to. I believe this project has made me a better person with a better understanding of our world. After doing this project, I do highly recommend that you seek out those people you have negative impressions of. I get that stereotypes happen for a reason, but sometimes that reason is stupidity. Special shout out to Morocco and Bahamas. I only spoke to one person from each of those countries, but their level of intelligence definitely stood out among the group. They were both extremely smart, and I had to look up several of the words that they used. If you have any questions about the adventure I went on, please leave them in a comment, and I'll address all of them in a future video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if this is somehow the first video of mine you're seeing, none of the other videos on this channel are like it.